Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another tank review with Scout. Today we're going to be taking a look at this vehicle right here, the Panther Tier 7 German medium tank. We're going to run down its stats real quick in just a few short minutes, get an idea of its strengths and weaknesses and its capabilities, and then we're going to move on to a replay showing you what the Panther really is capable of. As always, if you're not really interested in stats, if you're already familiar with the tank, go ahead and click the annotation in the top left of the screen right now. It'll take you straight to the gameplay. Conversely, if you want to learn a little bit more about the Panther, what it can and can't do, and how to defeat it on the battlefield, just stick with me, and we'll cover that in just a few short minutes. So, taking a look at the stats, the Panther is kind of a mixed bag of a tank. It comes in with 1,300 hit points once you put the upgrades all on it, which is really good for a Tier 7 medium tank. It's one of, if not, I'm pretty sure it's the highest hit point total of any Tier 7 medium tank by about 100-150 points, so that's good. Weight limit. In my configuration, it weighs 45.5 tons, load limit 48 tons. It's the heaviest of the tanks, which can be a good thing if you're looking to ram somebody. As we're going to see, though, there are some drawbacks to that, but at least you don't have to so much worry about being rammed yourself unless it's by a heavy tank. 700 horsepower engine is very good from the Tier 7 medium tree, but keep in mind you're also one of the heaviest tanks out there, so that's not going to be as good as you might think. Your top speed in this tank is 55 kilometers an hour, which is actually very competitive. I want to say, yeah, it's faster than the Comet. In fact, the only tank, looking down here at the Tier 7 mediums, the only Tier 7 medium tank that's faster than the Panther is the T20, and it's got a top speed of 56, so it's actually very competitive. But do keep in mind that your horsepower per ton ratio is not that great because of that high weight that we talked about earlier. So you're going to accelerate slower than some of these tanks down here. You're going to climb hills slower. You're just going to take some time to get up to that top speed limit, whereas some of the other mediums will out accelerate you. But once you get there, you are very fast. In fact, one of the fastest Tier 7 mediums. So far it's been kind of a mixed bag. It sounds pretty good, but now is where you're going to see the drawbacks to the Panther as we move into traverse speed. 32 degrees per second on the hull is just dog bad. This thing does not turn for a Tier 7 medium. And then if you look at the turret traverse, 30 degrees per second, pretty terrible for a Tier 7 medium. In fact, both of those, as I recall, are the lowest of all the Tier 7 mediums. So while this thing does have some speed to it, once it gets up to it, it is not maneuverable at all. And again, that is because of the weight. A lot of the weight comes from the armor. Taking a look at the armor, your hull armor, 85 millimeters on the front, 50 on the sides, 40 on the rear. Turret armor is 120 millimeters on the front and then 60 on the sides and rear. That is very good. In fact, it's probably the best among the Tier 7 mediums. And as you can see, it's actually sloped fairly well on the front hull at least. But you do have a gigantic weak point. Your lower glacis right here is terrible. Can be pinned rather easily. And while 120 millimeters on your turret front sounds good, you can see that it's almost perfectly flat. And even most Tier 7 medium guns can pin 120 millimeters going straight into the front of your turret because it is so flat. So your armor is really kind of a mixed bag. It looks good on paper. In actuality, it's really not that great. Most tanks are going to penetrate you pretty easily. You can have some success, though, if you side scrape this tank. I found that if I side scrape it really hard, like about so, and then cover up my lower glacis, I can get some bounces, at least against the other Tier 7 mediums in those situations where you're rushing to a key position and you run into one of your counterparts. You actually can use your armor with some success on this tank, but not against equal tier heavies and certainly not against higher tier tanks. Make no mistake, this is not a German version of the T-54 at Tier 7 in any way. So moving on to the view range. Your view range, 380 meters, is actually very good. Better than some of the Russian tanks. If we take a look here, you see 370 for the T-43, 360 for the KV-13. So actually have a pretty good view range. Just keep in mind, it's not that great. It's comparable to the Comet, and I think the T-20's actually got you beat by 10 meters. So it's, again, it's good, but it's not one of those things that you can rely on to beat your counterparts. And then 710 meter signal range. If you care about it, it is the best among all of the Tier 7 medium tanks. So far, looking at this tank, what we have is a mixed bag of stats. Not too bad, not too good, just kind of average, good at some things, really terrible in maneuverability. So what it's going to come down to the gun. The gun is what is going to make or break this tank. And unfortunately, like everything else, that's kind of a mixed bag. You see here the best gun that you can put on the Tier 7 Panther, the KWK L100 75mm gun. That's right, the clown gun. It has a look at how long that barrel is. It looks absolutely ridiculous. And as you can see, this is an interesting gun. The rate of fire of 13.64 rounds per minute is actually pretty good. It's not great. It's not going to beat the Comet in terms of DPM, but it is very competitive. Your penetration is outstanding. 198 millimeters of penetration with standard armor piercing. 244 millimeters of penetration with armor piercing composite rigid. So this is one of the few Tier 7 medium tanks that you are really not afraid of Tier 8 heavy tanks in that, you know, you have to worry about you not being able to penetrate them. No, you will penetrate most Tier 8 heavies. You can even penetrate them frontally with this gun as long as you aim carefully. The downside is the damage. This is still the same tired old 75mm gun that really came off of the VK before this. So your average damage is only 135 points, the lowest of all of the Tier 7 medium tanks. And that is really frustrating, especially when you're shooting at Tier 8 heavies and you're looking at having to penetrate them 12, 13, 14 times in order to get a kill. It is incredibly frustrating. So do keep that in mind when you're playing this tank. You need an opponent to be in the open. You need to be shooting at him from a position with cover nearby, and you're going to have to hammer him several times before you can secure the kill. On the bright side, the accuracy of this gun is not a problem. 0.32 dispersion at 100 meters. It is one of, if not the most accurate Tier 7 medium tank guns. Your aiming time, 2.3 seconds, is competitive. That's generally speaking the aiming time for all of the Tier 7 medium tanks, so you don't have to worry about somebody snapping shots quicker than you. All in all, it's not a terrible gun. It's just the alpha damage, it lets me down. I'm just not impressed with it, and it's very frustrating to me to have to hit a tank so many times to try to kill it. And that can make it difficult to secure kills sometimes as you pound and pound and pound and pound the tank trying to get him, and then somebody finally realizes that guy's in the open and they swoop in and steal your kill with a larger alpha damage gun. That being said, sometimes it does work in your favor. Sometimes you can snap off 2 quick shots on a wounded tank and get the kill yourself before anybody else. And you know, your high penetration allows you to do that, and your good aim time and good accuracy. So like everything else, at the end of the day, this tank is a mixed bag. I want to love it, but I don't. I have excellent stats in this tank for a long time. I was carrying over a 60% win ratio in this thing, like 63%. It's just, everything about it is just a mixed bag. At the end of the day, I think that this is a support medium tank because it has such terrible hull traverse and turret traverse. You can't afford to let a T-43 or a KV-13 or a Comet or a T-20 get next to you. You can't really afford to let any other medium tank get next to you because they can out-turn you. Their turrets turn faster. You can't afford to be in a dogfight in this tank. And you can't afford to be up close because your armor, as we talked about, is good, but it's not that great, so you can't afford to be taking hits. So at the end of the day, I think the best thing you can do with this tank is stand off and kind of use it as a Hellcat, really, as a fast tank destroyer, a mobile fire support platform where you can take advantage of the accuracy of your gun and the fact that even though your alpha damage isn't that great, you will generally penetrate what you're shooting at. And I think that is where you're going to have the greatest amount of success with this vehicle. That being said, if you're top tier, Tier 7s, every once in a while you'll get that matchup where there are 3 or 4 Tier 7s and then a bunch of Tier 6s and Tier 5s. If you get into that matchup, then this tank becomes the Panther that we've all read about in World War II. Then your high hit points, the fact that your armor is actually effective against Tier 6 and Tier 5 guns, allow you to be more aggressive with this tank, to go in and start punishing people. And their low hit point totals mean that your low alpha damage doesn't hurt you nearly as much. Now, the last thing I want to cover in this vehicle, soft stats and equipment. Your soft stats are not that great. The depression on this gun is bad. It's only got, I want to say, 8 degrees of gun depression, which isn't terrible, but remember the Comet has 12 degrees of gun depression. The T-20 has 10. So yeah, you're going to lose ridge fights with Comets and T-20s. Another reason I suggest that you stand off and use your accuracy to your advantage. Your soft terrain resistance is terrible. terrible. Even terrain resistance on medium and hard terrains is worse than some of your competitors like the T20 and the Comet. You're already behind in terms of maneuverability, and it's only going to be exacerbated on bad terrain. Another reason you should just stand off with this tank. In terms of equipment, I'm going to recommend a standard package for the Panther that kind of plays to your strengths. We're going to use a gun laying drive to enhance our aiming time. We're going to use coated optics to further take advantage of our good view range, and then we're going to use a rammer to speed up our rate of fire because, you know, you're already doing low alpha damage. The faster you can fire, the better off you're going to be. And that's kind of it for the stats on the Panther. All in all, like I said many times in this video, it's kind of a mixed bag. I don't love it. I pulled my crew out of it when I got the Panther 2 and put them in the Panther 2 and haven't bothered putting a new crew in this tank yet. It's not bad. It's not what, like the Tiger, surprise, surprise, Wargaming if you're listening, it's not what it should be. And I really hope they make some changes to this tank because I want to love it. I just don't. To me, if you want to play a tank like this, you're better off with the VK at tier 6. It plays to me more like what a Panther should be. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to show you guys a boring video of standing off fire support with a Panther. I think we all know how to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to a replay that really shows what the Panther is capable of in a good matchup and show you what the Panther can do when the matchmaker doesn't work against it. So let's take a look at the video and see the Panther at its best. So here we are on airfield in our Panther, and the first thing you're going to notice is that this is the type of matchup I was telling you about, where you got 3 or 4 tier 7s on each side. And these, I feel, are the key games in your Panther. These are the ones where what you do really, really matters, and you need to get your role right in this tank. It's always easy in a tier 8 game or tier 8, tier 9 game to stand off and just pummel shots out at people that can't see you, but these are the games where you need to make your money, and that's why I want to show you these particular replays. First thing I want you to take a look at right off the bat is look at how the Panther struggles to get up even this relatively minor slope, struggling to get up to 30 kilometers an hour. Now as we come down it and level off, you see that it does pick up speed. Now we're cruising on out at 45 and gaining, picking up momentum here, passing this IS. 48. Still haven't hit our top speed limit yet. And finally, just now we're hitting 55 kilometers an hour. So there you go. That gives you an idea of how long it takes the Panther to get up to speed. And it will do it. It does move on out. It just takes it a while to get up to its top speed. And once again, though, look at what a dog it is going up this hill, struggling just to keep 12, 13 kilometers an hour. Something to keep in mind whenever you're moving around in your Panther, looking at what positions you can and cannot get to. You can and cannot beat the team to, but we were able to get up here without taking a hit, and now we're going to start using our gun to good advantage. Of course, the T25-2/2 stops when I take my first shot, right through his gun mantle there, and then we bounce around off of our upper glacis. Again, look there, the penetration of the gun on the Panther, able to go straight through the mantle of the T25-2, and the fact that you can use your armor against equally tiered opponents to some degree. You will also notice, though, that a second shot at the mantle of that T25-2 bounced. So there are limitations to your 198 millimeters of penetration, as you're going to see a little bit later in this replay as well. Now we're just angling, trying to get a shot at anybody coming down the middle. Nope, there's that T25-2 again. And now look at what we're able to do to him with the rate of fire of this gun. Notice the low rolls, though. The first shot was something like 116. There's 122. The low rolls, very frustrating in this vehicle. Bounce a shot there from the BK 3002D. You see him up there on the hill. Again, you can bounce equal tier medium tanks and some tank destroyers. So your armor's not completely worthless in this tank, but it's not as good as you might think. Now watch the accuracy of this gun. Pop right in the top of his turret. Easy shot. Again, this gun is in some ways the strength of this tank. In a lot of ways, though, it's also its weakness. Really wishing that KV-1 would back up and come out from behind that wall. I'd love to do that. No, got hit by already. Bounce on the side of the VK 3002D. Just what we were talking about. Able to put a second shot into him, though, and now we're going to transition to the jumbo. Bounce on the side of a jumbo. How about that? But gun reloads quickly, able to put one shot into him. Oh, and the blind shot goes in, securing us our first kill of the game. KV-1 coming up. Now look at what this gun does to Tier 5 tanks. You see what I mean when I say it's alpha damage? All of a sudden there's no drawback at all. We're just ripping this KV-1 apart. About the time he sees us and traverses on us, it's already too late and he's dead. Just because our alpha damage isn't so much of a drawback and we have a tremendous rate of fire. That's what I was talking about. Here's that PK-3002D. Trying to shoot for his drive wheel here and track him, but it's not working, so I go back to the left. Don't want to hit my friendly Hellcat. That was an unlucky miss. That really should have been the end of that PK-3002D. Just trying to shoot him through the wall there. Unfortunately, there's a wall behind the wall. You know, because why wouldn't there be an ouch? Jackson penetrates us right through, I want to say that was right through the upper glacis, but it may not have been. Come forward. He's only giving us his turret. A little bit of a bounce there, throws my aim off, and we bounce off the Jackazin's gun mantle. Gun mantle, I should say. And then, bam, we take another penetrating hit, and if we back out, we can see, yep, right through the upper glacis. And he hits us again, same spot, right through the upper glacis, even though we're sitting level. And both of the shots, if you're interested, both of my shots bounced off of him. Again, bouncing right off his gun mantle. Just showing you that there are limitations to your 198 millimeters of penetration. Shots that you think that you should be able to penetrate, sometimes you won't. And actually, looking at this is not. Is that the clown gun? I don't think that's the clown gun, actually. I think this may actually be a replay from when I was playing with the Tier 6 gun when I first got the Panther. So, yeah, those shots probably would have gone in if we'd have had the clown gun equipped. Either way, the play style is the same. What you want to do with the tank is the same. You just have more options when you have 198 millimeters of penetration. Going after this 12T now, going to finish him off. And there's the kill on the 12T, bringing us up to 3 kills in this game. Now we just have to go after the Jackson, and then we can feast on their artillery. There's our Jackson friend. Using auto aim to pop out and rip off a shot really quick, and of course it misses him, but we hit him on the move because, you know, reasons. Bounce there, throws that shot off. Saw the back of the tank come up, causing that shot to go wild. But we are able, using manual aim, to secure kill number 4 on the Jackson. And now it becomes just a chase for their artillery. Some really wonky things going on, but this gives you a good opportunity to see the speed of the Panther, how it moves on different terrain. Again, you'll notice on this sand it's struggling really hard, especially when there's any change in the elevation of the terrain, any kind of upslope. It struggles to maintain its momentum. Just that little slope right there, we dropped to just over 30 kilometers an hour. And even going downhill, we pick it up to about 42, 45 kilometers an hour. But again, you see the tank struggling to get to its top speed of 55 kilometers an hour. And that's because of that weight that we talked about earlier in the garage. It doesn't maintain its momentum very well when it's forced to go uphill. On good level hard terrain, it will reach that top speed limit, but that's about the only time you'll see it. You see here as you turn left and right to come through the rocks and with all the undulating terrain, the speed drops back down to about 30 kilometers an hour and stays there pretty often. So I'm not going to make you guys suffer through all the rest of this. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to see how the Panther moves. We'll go ahead and speed this up because it does end kind of funny. Chasing the M44, knew I wouldn't get the other Artie. And watch this. Pop out on the M44. And of course, you know, track no damage on the side of an Artie because, you know, reasons. But that's game. Hopefully what this showed you guys is, well, one, what you can do with the regular L70 75mm gun. Tank is still perfectly viable, but also it showed you how to play the Panther in those Tier 7 games where your role is especially important, and also showed you how the Panther moves, because you really need to understand what this tank can and can't do in terms of maneuverability, the points that it can and can't get to before its opponents, in order to do as best as you possibly can in this tank. So let's take a quick look at the results screen, and then we'll move on to another replay with the actual top gun, the clown gun, and all the accoutrements on this tank. So here we have the results screens from our battle on airfield. You'll note that we got a first class mastery badge, the fighter ribbon, fighter, bruiser, and the high caliber medal. Looking at the team score, we finished top on damage. I was able to inflict 2,154 points of damage, more by far than anyone else on the team, and secure 4 kills, which enabled us to rake in 1,080 base experience. Not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. Now moving on to the detailed report, I fired 34 shots, 23 of which hit, only 17 penetrated, giving us our 2,154 points of damage, 541 of it from a distance of more than 300 meters. We took 5 hits, 3 penetrated and 2 did not, and we got splashed once. So that shows you the armor. That's something else that I really wanted you guys to see, is it can work, but you can't rely on it. Total damage blocked by armor 375, spotted 2 enemy vehicles, damaged 7, destroyed 4, got credit for 344 points of assistance damage. And it's not too hard to turn a profit with this tank. After repair and rearm, we still pulled in 29,286 credit. So that is the Panther with the L70 75mm. Let's take a look at this tank when it's in a good matchup and it's fully equipped. So here we are on Himmelsdorf and counter, if I can talk, in our Panther. And as you can see, this is the dream matchup. Only 2 Tier 7s on each side, a handful of Tier 6s, and everyone else is Tier 5. Furthermore, there are no Tier 7 heavies, no high alpha damage guns for you to really worry about. And this is the matchup in your Panther that you're looking for. This is when you can play the Panther the way the Panther historically really was. And again, as you can see, as promised, I've got the 100mm clown gun on this time. This is the game where you need to be aggressive. This is where your armor can be effective, and where, more importantly, your huge hit point total is going to allow you to play a big role in the game. So I'm turning around, I'm going straight up the hill, I'm going to play aggressive, I'm going to get up there into position, block right there where the rocks jut out, and try to get the enemy to focus their attention on me, put my excellent penetration and an excellent rate of fire to use, and just try to own this game. That's the plan going in here. You can see I'm pulling right up. I'm going to start side scraping out, bouncing the Stewart. Now that is going to be a problem. An M4 Sherman shooting high explosive at me, he is eventually going to chew up my tank. As you can see, even though he's not penetrating, he's just doing HE damage, he's doing 135 each time that he does it, which is about the same amount of damage that I do. And now things are going to get worse with this AT-15 coming up. Able to snap a shot into his weak point right there on the top right side of his tank. And now we're just trying to pull out here and put more shots into that cupola up there. We've got to get this AT-15 out of the game, because if not, he's going to sit there and own the rest of my team. But I want to be very careful. I don't want to back out far enough that Sherman starts abusing me with HE onto the side of my tank again. Put another one through his gun mantle there, make him snap, aim, and miss, and oh, that's a problem. But fortunately, again, side scraping, like I talked about, your armor can be effective. We bounce a gold round for the KV-1S. AT-15 pulls back, can't quite get a shot into his cupola. Still holding my ground, just going to sit here and keep working this corner. This AT-15 is trying to be aggressive. I think he's trying to do the same thing I'm doing for my team, but that weak point on the top right side of his tank is just working against him. And each time he comes forward to try to get a shot into the folks behind me, we're able to plant one into him. Crusader being really brave. I think he's trying to just unbalance this kind of stalemate going on there, and we're able to put a shot into him, and then the teammates finish him off. That M4 really becoming a problem. Look at the amount of damage he's done to our tank. But here again, our high hit point total is working in our favor. the large amount of hit points that the Panther has means that I can take these shots as long as I pummel him straight through his gun mantle every time. He's going to pay for a heck of a lot worse than I am. And you see he's down to a one-shot kill now, and he doesn't want to come out because he knows that I can penetrate his gun mantle every time. Whereas the amount of HE damage he does, it may be 160, it may be 39 like the last one. Come out here, try to get a shot in, boom, able to finish off the Sherman. And now we're going to run around because, as you can see, I've run out of friends up here on the hill. I'm about to be flanked by all these tanks that went around. Notice the slow turret traverse. Now that I'm in a dogfight with the Sherman, things aren't so one-sided. He was able to get around me, and the turret just wouldn't traverse fast enough. Only by combining my hull and turret traverse was I able to keep up with that Sherman, and even then only because he was trying to circle me in reverse. Panzer III-4 comes up the hill trying to help his already Sherman out, but he doesn't make it in time, and then coming at me like that, just head on, that's just clearly a one-sided fight. Now we're able to come back out on the flank of the AT-15, who's gone around trying to secure the kill, but he backs down too far. Transition to the Sherman again. The rate of fire, look at that. The rate of fire allowed us to make that transition and still put a shot into the Sherman before he was able to get back down. Now we're trying to get to some cover. Tried to snap a shot into his turret. Want to cover up my lower glacis at least, and now it's the same engagement as before, but again, the accuracy, the rate of fire of the gun really pays off and carries the day in that engagement. Now we're going to go around, finish this AT-15. Oh! Unlucky, we bounced the shot into his cupola and take a big hit in return. But again, our rate of fire pays off, and we're able to secure our 5th kill on the AT-15. Now we're going to go around and try to finish this the T-20. I know I've got better accuracy. I know I can snap a shot quicker than him. Oh, no, I bounced, but I know my reload's going to beat him, so we're going to come out, try it one more time to secure the top gun. Unfortunately, we're able to get it. He straightens out. We're able to put that shot straight through the front of his tank, securing our top gun, and somehow managing to hold on to the hill despite that absolute chaos. You see the M4 there telling us we did a nice job. Thank you very much. So yeah, that is what I'm talking about. In these kinds of matchups, you really need to play the Panther aggressively because its armor, it's not perfect, but it's good enough, and your hit point total is what's really going to allow you to trade effectively with these tanks. The combination of your hit point total, your high penetration means you can almost auto aim at them and penetrate anywhere, and your rate of fire. You're just going to chew them up before they can wear you down. They would really, in order to have won that engagement, they would have all had to come around and overwhelm me, and that's just that kind of mindset. You don't see it very often in random battles. Everybody's always thinking as individual tanks rather than as a team of tanks, and that's why you can have a really big role in this tank, in this type of game, because you're fast enough to get there, you have enough rate of fire to deal with multiple tanks. Even though your alpha damage isn't great, you have the penetration that you can just slingshots anywhere and know that they're probably going to go in, and you have the hit points to take a few hits. This is the type of game, I should say, where the Panther will really, really shine. And now we're just trying to chase down the KV-1S, hoping maybe I can get a 7th kill. Unfortunately, we're not going to get it. And that's game on Himmelsdorf. Let's take a look at the results screen. So here are the results from that crazy battle on Himmelsdorf. Up at the top of the hill, we were able to make all of our money, able to rake in a mastery badge, fighter ribbon, duelist ribbon, hand of God, Top Gun, steel wall, and high caliber. Absolutely fantastic game in the Panther. 9,669 WNA, in fact. Really great game. I recognize, yes, it's picking on Tier 5 tanks, but that was my point, if you remember when I started the video, is that is what this tank is really good for when it's at its most powerful, picking on lower tier tanks. Moving on, let's take a look at the team score. As you can see, I was able to inflict 2,884 points of damage. A little bit more, in fact, than double than the Hellcat on my team. Secure 6 kills, rake in 1,232 base experience. Just a fantastic game in the Panther. One of, if not the best games, in fact, that I've ever had in this tank. Looking at the detailed report, I fired 29 shots, of which 25 hit and 23 penetrated. Again, that's the rate of fire, the accuracy, and the penetration that I keep harping on that is so important in these types of games, giving us our 2,884 points of damage. More importantly here, like I talked about, this is where your armor is really going to work. You see I took 14 hits. I got counted for 10 penetrations but 4 non-penetrations, but that's because the only guy that routinely penetrated us was that Sherman at the beginning, and those aren't really penetrations, it's just HE damage. How we ended up with the steel wall is taking so many hits, and each time, typically he only hit us for about 100 points of damage. He did hit for 164, but other than that, most folks were bouncing off of us, save the AT-15 who put a big hit in at the end and the T-20. So again, your armor will work against these types of tanks in these types of games. Spotted 6 enemy vehicles, damaged 9, destroyed 6, and we're able to pull in a pretty good profit, 31,024 credits. After repair rearm, we brought home 13,425. So yeah, that's it for my review of the Panther. The bottom line, I really think it's kind of a mixed bag of a tank. Typically speaking, you're going to have to play it as a support tank. I didn't include a lot of videos of that. I probably will put up some later just to show you guys some more Panther games. But I thought that was kind of boring to do for the review. What I wanted to show you in this review, since everybody knows how to play support, is how you can play the Panther in those key games when you're top tier. We can get the most out of it, because I think that is where this tank really shines. Like a lot of tanks, it excels at beating up lower tier tanks because of its rate of fire, its accuracy, its penetration. Because they're lower tier, your alpha damage doesn't hurt you as much because your armor can work. And that's kind of the story of the Panther to me. And I wish it wasn't. I really wish Wargaming would make some changes and make the Panther more relevant to tier 7 and 8 games. But until they do, unfortunately, that's where this tank is in its comfort zone, and really in tier 6 and tier 5 games. So that's it for now, folks. Sorry about that phone ringing. Hope you enjoyed the replay. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.